You're a spiritual being in physical form, a dichotomy of light and dark, where energy equals mass on a journey designed to fulfill our personal legend and purpose, to use humanity throughout, to amplify and transcend, tame the ego, raise the humanity. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the High Vibe Zone.
Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome to the High Vibe Zone. Another edition of the High Vibe Zone. Super excited for this one. If you haven't guessed, I'm always excited whenever I'm in the High Vibe Zone. This is going to be an extremely, extremely fun one. It's the last one of February, going out with some February fire. If this is your first time in the High Vibe Zone, welcome. I am your host, Trace Fonts. If this is not your first time in the High Vibe Zone, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining me. Either way, first time or returning, watching live or on the replay, go ahead and let me know where you are joining from, what you are grateful for. Gratitude changes the attitude. And we are about to jump in and get into it. All right, so let me just say, my next guest just makes me smile every time I see her profile pic, her name, just like, I really, really, really like this person. We have never met in person, but we have talked a few times and I just vibe with her. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with her in the High Vibe Zone. She is passionate, y'all, about the Black community, okay? Like she is on it. You will see. So without further ado, let me introduce my amazing guest, Sierra. Hello.
Hi. Well, my name is so unique and interesting. Everybody, it looks like Sierra because it looks like Sierra. It's Saria.
Saria, even better.
Yes, thank you, Miss Cherise. How are you?
I am doing well. So excited to have you here in the High Vibe Zone as we close out the month of February.
Black History Month.
Black History Month. And super excited to have this conversation with you. But before we dive in, how are you in this moment?
I am good. I'm just very excited for my own Black Wealth series and trying to navigate promoting it, because unfortunately when you have something with the word Black in it, it really attracts the anti-Black. So I've had a lot of people target my page for saying I was racially discriminating against them and all that fun stuff that we're so accustomed to in America. So yeah, so I'm just trying to like navigate how to Underground Railroad advertising the series, which is just so amazing. And I got the best speakers, so I want to make sure people can hear it and benefit from it. So that's what's on the back of my big old brain.
Well, going kind of in the replay repeat zone. Okay. All right. Well, I hope we can get into a little bit of that. But before we do, I'm going to pull a card for us. Don't know what the card's going to be, but I'm going to ask you to, I don't know which one it want me to grab. All right. We're going to do this one. Feel good, pass it on. Okay. What does that mean to you? Feel good, pass it on.
It means I feel like it means exactly what it says. And if you feel good, you pass that on.
Yeah.
Versus feeling miserable, and misery loves company. But if you feel good, people get that and they feel it too. I think. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the fact that we're talking about wealth at some point in this conversation,
always.
I feel like this card kind of speaks to that.
Yeah.
Pass it on. And I know, like I said, I've spoken to you a couple of times, and you really have that. And I'm so excited for, this being another avenue to really showcase that component. I do want to just let the viewers and listeners know that, you and I have a difference of opinion on some of the things, and that is totally okay. That doesn't change the fact that we care about each other. We care about each other's work. We're here to support each other. You do not always have to agree with the other person, right? That's okay too. You can still show up in your light and your love and support. And so I feel like this is a beautiful place to do that, to highlight that. And again, thank you so much for being here in the High Vibe Zone with me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I think also the way that I had the pleasure of meeting you too was through the Black Wealth series about the challenges with giving childbirth, because I don't know if everybody knows about all the work you do to make sure people are able to have healthy and happy babies. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize Black women were dying at a rate of like 4 to 1 of white, non-Black women, white women in particular, in hospitals. So I was able to do a series about birthing, and you were so gracious to give me your time, along with Congresswoman Robin Kelly, along with Tatiana Ali, who helped us put it all together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, birth is one of my favorite topics. And, the birth community, or the birthing world in general, is at risk. Just everybody. Because at least here in America, the Netherlands got it down, other places got it down for whatever reason. And we did talk about that in your series. Like, it's just something here. And I think it's like something in the water. You know how, like, I wonder if this resonates with you. It's like when you have water and you maybe like took your lemon wedge out, but then you still have that hint of lemon in there. There's like a hint of something still in the water. You know what I mean? Because it's transferring from birth to wealth to health to family dynamics to educational system. It's very interesting. And before we dive into all of that, I would love for you. Can you repeat your name again one more time for me?
Saria like Maria. Saria like Maria.
Oh, okay. Saria. Got it. Okay. Done. Thank you. You got to, the trick is to add a rhyme to the name.
Yes.
Saria. There we go.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about your origin story? Like, you can go as far back as the womb if you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Please.
Thank you. And I just want to piggyback, as we're saying the origin story of my background, the residue in the water that you're talking about that's very specific to America is systemic racism. And I think the more we can actually just call it what it is, the more we'll be able to fight it. I hear people call it a curse. Like, we got some witches and warlocks out here. And I'm not a magic. I love Harry Potter, but I'm not a magic person. And I hear all types of people. I just hear so many different words for it. And I'm like, it's just systemic racism. But my background is, I'm from Chicago, born and raised. I have a degree in finance. I graduated, became a stockbroker downtown Chicago, and was freezing cold, and then moved to Beverly Hills, California. Transferred from my firm there. And when I was young, I did beauty pageants. So I took that as an opportunity to go into modeling. I was still in my early 20s, and I was like, what is that about? So I did modeling for about 10 years. And during that time, I was very much by myself, just living my best life ever. I made it out. That was good, but I still always tried to help my family. So making great money, meeting some amazing people, and just realized that what they were doing was different than what I was taught to do for people as a finance person. So they were doing it just completely different. I was like, if they're doing it completely different, maybe that's what I need to tell my clients to do, not what I'm telling them to do. So fast forward, I retired from modeling, got back into the financial world, and was enjoying myself and helping families. And then I was like, I need to study money. I just need to understand where money came from. I want to know, like, what was the first currency? What was it? Was it an egg? Was it was it a piece of gold? What was it? And so I started studying like money from the start of time. And unfortunately, a lot of cultures, it was people. but and then it got away from people. Like the
Yeah.
Romans would like, they'd be like, oh, Sharice, I love you. Here's a kid. But it wasn't for you to take care of that kid. It was terrible stuff. Like,
Yeah. Wow.
you heard when in Rome, do as the Romans.
Probably
Never
not
do
the
as the
best.
Romans.
Yeah, probably not the best.
Ever. So I you know, you go throughout history and you see where they were a little barbaric, and then you get everything gets to be a little bit more kind of, we see the trail. And then I got to American, the formation of America, and I'm still studying money. It came out like a slap in the face. It was like slavery. And I don't know how I forgot that was the foundation of America, but I just completely forgot it. And I was like, oh, and then not only was it the foundation of money, it was credit, it was power. I mean, it was just everything just interwoven in this disgusting act. And so that wasn't enough for me. So then I was like, well, let me learn about who started America. Let me learn about these people. Let me learn a little bit more about these people. So then I had to something father. So I started reading all about the foundation of America and who exactly came over to create that. And so as you can see, I like learning, Sharice. Yeah. And then then I moved forward, and I started looking at Reconstruction right after slavery. And so I'm doing all this on my own, Sharice. And then 2020 hits.
Oh, wow.
And so, because I started this in about 2018, and just book after book after book. And I'm just like, wow, the banks, the FDIC, and I'm just on and on and on. And then I see George Floyd being murdered over $20. And I was like, let me go back in my history books and start looking at how that could have occurred. And then I didn't learn about just George Floyd. That was happening in real time, but I learned about Tulsa. I learned about all these other places. And then I learned that a lot of the lynchings that occurred, I thought the lynchings were with like Emmett Till, like, look, like your son went out and he got into the wrong area. And then, you know, people were like, you know, we're going to kill you. That's what I thought lynchings were, just random acts of violence. Oh, they were very strategic, and they were targeting people with money and power and wealth because they had influence, and they didn't want people to have influence over Black folks in a way that would give them that power. So I started the Black Wealth series along with my team because we were out protesting and being on the ground and all that. And it was scary and it was dangerous. And I was like, I even felt responsible for them. I'm like, I can't protect y'all out here. I can't protect me. I'm not even that fast anymore. So we got to figure out something else. So we created the Black Wealth series, and it was really just to take everyone on this journey, because I can read everything by myself, but that doesn't create community. That doesn't let everybody else know. And now fast forward, and we're at a place where people are aggressively trying to even take that away, just the education about it. And I was like, oh, so now it's even more important for us all to just have that education for ourselves.
Thank you so much for sharing like the origin story and just kind of the journey that you went through to get to this, because I think that's really powerful. And it's really, I love a good origin story. And while this origin story has a lot of sadness in it, it's like you are actively trying to transform just this mesh ball of history and recent current events to really help empower people in the understanding and of finances. And that is, you know, there's a couple thoughts that came up to my mind. Have you ever heard of the Wall Street Trapper?
No, what's that?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think you should totally get this dude on your whatever you're doing. So long story short, he goes to prison. He's from I don't even know where he's from, maybe New York. Some like mom was a dealer. Just talk about origin story. Went to prison, went into a confinement with a white dude who was in prison for embezzling millions. don't fully quote me, this is a paraphrase, learns the Wall Street game from him, translates that game into what he knows from the streets, and now he teaches people about how to play the stock market, and he's called the Wall Street Trapper. He is genius. I could listen to him all day, to be honest. I'm not in that world yet, but just to hear him and the way that he's like, oh, yeah, this is how we would talk about it on the streets. Let me just flip that into what you would need to know and how you do a stock. Like, this is genius. So the fact that you were like, hey, I hear everybody else talking about money over here. Let me go discover it for myself, because that's exactly what he did. He took this guy's information, translated it through his own experience and knowledge, and now he's reaching people like me that don't have this like high financial knowledge. And I think, oh my God, I think you would, if you could find him and talk to him.
I'll see what he got going on.
Yeah. So, we got a couple. Okay. So hello, LinkedIn. You're coming up as LinkedIn user. Tell me your name. Hello. And then we got someone joining us from Milwaukee. Shout out from Milwaukee. Here we go. Grateful for the opportunities to learn and engage with in community. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. And I don't know if this is the same LinkedIn user, but they know about, the Wall Street Trapper educates culture on how to build wealth one share at a time. Yes. So, New Orleans. Exactly. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So see, right place, right time.
New Orleans.
So I love that you're talking about that. And then, I had another note. Okay. So when you're talking about the origins of money, you've heard this quote, the love of money is the root to all evil. Yes. And
yes.
And when you were talking, I was like, wait a minute. I always looked at it from like, if I love money, then it's going to be like evil. Like I thought about that quote, not like I'm taking it personal, but just when I thought about it. But what if it's, when people love money, there's evil things that come about that, just like you were talking about people getting lynched because of money or like that kind of thing. And I wonder if that.
Well, I think what happened because of the hostility that our middle income and our high net worth were experiencing, I think it did make folks shy away from being too financially aggressive or motivated, kind of quietly. And then after that, we had the war on drugs, where Ronald Reagan was being super predatory towards Black communities. So it was just a big double whammy. So I think now we're in a different position where we can kind of reassess where we are and refocus. But one of the things that we have to do is just say what's so, right? And I think that you're not alone, Sharice, when you were saying, I'm a human. We all want to be humans, right? We want to be humans. I want you to be human. I want to be human. But the reason why you even have to say you're human is because of systemic racism, because we weren't historically humans, and I don't know if we're still human. I can't be confident that if somebody shoots you and kills you, that they're going to go to jail, whether it's your spouse or a police officer. I'm not 100% confident. Right. And why am I not confident? Because that's just how society has been. So I feel like when we're trying to fight for our humanity, we got to remember who we're fighting against. And who we're fighting against is not each other or people. It's anti-Black. Anti-Black can be white folks, Latino, Asian. It could be Black folks, right? The anti-Black culture that exists around the U.S. you're in California. You remember not too long ago, they caught a bunch of our Latino Congress folks in LA just being super anti-Black in one of their private meetings, and someone recorded them. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't watch the news.
You don't watch the news. I don't either, but I read it.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I read it because I need to understand what's going on, and I I'm still reading, you know, I don't have the history books written about today yet. So the way that I can get as much current information is from reading the news. So that's one of the things I wanted to say. And we can talk about that as much as you want. I feel like there was something else. Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you don't tell your kids. How old is your oldest baby?
He's 18.
Okay. So, and he's a young man. So did you share anything with him about being Black, being like how to behave when you get stopped by the police, what to do when you're out in groups, how to behave if you're caught with a girl? Like, did you share any of that?
What I shared with them is nothing to do centered around them being Black, but more of just like, this is how you behave and in general. And so I've never had, I would say like, hey, this is how you're going to be looked at, or I've never had that conversation with them. He has other family members that give their thoughts and their opinions on those types of things. But for me, I've never said it to any of my kids.
Do you feel like it's negative?
I don't feel like it's negative. I feel like ultimately I would want them, if I were going to say anything like, okay, because you're Black, you act like this. I feel like it's the same stuff I would tell them if I didn't even use the word Black. It's like, this is how you, when you're out with someone, this is how you would treat someone. If you ever get pulled over, this is how you would operate. If you know, like I don't feel like because, I have to say this extra because you're Black. I think because you're in the situation, this is how you would handle it. And, you know, it's interesting because we did watch this episode of Blackish where they did talk about, and we had a whole conversation in our family about it. I mean, we're a blended family. So my 2 boys are Black and then my other kids are mixed. And so we had a conversation about it and they kind of were like, yeah, I would never do that anyway. Like, this is how I would operate. So it was like to see their gauge on it. Yeah, because it's a very, but that's also how I grew up though. I never had anybody to tell me or talk to me like that. It wasn't until, you know, I kind of got older where I started to see that there was a difference. And in fact, what's so fascinating, the Wall Street Trapper, there's this conversation that he has where I forget who he's talking to, but he basically says this kid comes to him and was like, yeah, my mom told me I'm gonna have to work twice as hard and all this stuff. And the guy's like, why are we speaking these affirmations into our children? Because essentially that's an affirmation. You're gonna have to work twice as hard. It's because of this. And it's like our words have power. And it's not to discredit like how you're talking about. Our society has a lot of work to do. But this is just the way I look at it. If I'm trying to get to a better destination, I understand that the words that I speak really formulate the steps that I'm taking and what's happening around me. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I have this knowingness around it. So that's kind of how I operate. It's not to negate. And I don't think Black is not a bad word. Like, I don't care. You can call me Black all day. In fact, I prefer it over African American. But if there's been so much momentum around that word and there's no reason for you to say it, you don't have to address me as Black. You don't have to say it. But there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense. So the other question I would have, I wasn't raised where my mom told me anything about being Black either. I had to learn the hard way. And I was like, God damn it. But she did tell me about being a woman. She did tell me about, you know, making sure that I didn't do certain things. I didn't get in the car with guys. I didn't, you know, and she wasn't shy about those. Be careful, you're a woman conversations. Did you have those conversations? Or will you have those conversations?
Yeah. So it's not like I don't have conversations around my kids being Black. In fact,
or being women,
like just being a woman or being a young man. I have those conversations. I think for me, one of the things that I pay attention to is the words that I speak into them for them to internalize. So if I'm like,
I know what you mean.
you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
I have a whole thought process. You know, there's a Jamaican phrase, what is for you can un for you, right? Have you heard of that? So it means what's for you will be for you. And when I think about my kids and their path, I really do my best to say, okay, I can't 100% tell them it's because you're this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I can. Where I feel like some people feel like they can, but I don't know enough. And I don't want them to get trapped in that story, because I remember, girl, someone had said something around me about melodramatic. It was my grandmother. I didn't know if she was talking to me or talking around me, but girl, I thought I was like, yeah, melodramatic. And I wore that label till I looked up the word and I said, oh no, that's not what, you know. So I don't want to impose, but when my kids have come to me for situations, they have been called names, they have been treated differently. We sit and we talk through this and we go through how we're going to operate. And I can tell you, if you ever hear any of my kids talk, they're just like, man, that person was stupid. And they don't hold it. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe
And
it.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And the world that I would like for us to create
Mm,
is where we're absolutely not holding it.
yeah.
Because like my mom told me what it is to be a woman and all these other things. I didn't take it, I didn't internalize it, I didn't hold it,
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that. But I remember the first time I was called out of my name and I cried
Mm,
my head off because no one had ever called me out of my name before. So I was kind of sheltered, I guess, in that regard.
mm,
But my thing is this: we can't protect our kids and we can't protect ourselves. That's the problem with systemic racism, is
mm,
it doesn't give us a foundation of footing. Now you're a little different, because what I've been noticing with millennials is with the babies, and you might be a millennial. I am not, I'm an Xer. What I've
oh,
been
are
noticing
you really?
yeah, yes.
Would have never thought and known. Love
Yes,
it.
I'm an Xer. Thank you, I'll take that.
Love it.
So what I've been noticing with the young adults, I was listening to a lady talk the other day, and she's on here. Her name is Kimberly Ellis Taylor. She's like, has over 25,000 followers. She's like a high up. She's on board. She's amazing. She was talking about how her mom, and she's like 3 years older than me, 4 years older than me. She was talking about her mom was like, listen, Kimberly, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to watch out. Da, 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 da. And she told her that young. Her mama told her that. And now Kimberly's so far ahead, like so far ahead financially. I felt like mom told her there were minefields and mine traps. So when she was walking, it wasn't that she was like concentrating on them, but she took account for them. Whereas I don't feel like I was told that, because I grew up in an all Black city, and we were all Black. There was nothing to help me understand. But then when I went to my university, and there was a channel that were only for the Ku Klux Klan, where the guy would go on and talk about Black folks. And then, we would wake up and we would have posters plastered all over the university campus talking about Black folks. So I didn't have the preparation for the minefields.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that does kids a disservice, because now you'll accidentally be that person that gets what's the word?
Blindsided.
Thrown out the window at a sleepover, right? You'll be that kid that goes hunting and you're the hunted, right? And I'm just giving you stories. I know you don't read the news, but I'm just giving you real stories that have happened not too long ago with folks who didn't know that there were minefields in their circle.
That makes that, yeah. I mean, what you're saying makes total sense. And I think I think it also plays a part. So you grew up in an all Black area. the Bay Area, and I was talking about somebody this today, when I was growing up, you had the Samoans, you had the Tongans, you had the Arabs, you had like the Mexicans, you had every different culture. And in fact, there was so many different things that were going on. And so we kind of grew up around each other. And even now with my young ones, even though they've predominantly been either the only or a few of the onlys in their classroom in certain areas, it's changed over the years. They've gotten different exposures. So when they do get hate or when they do get certain things coming at them, what I have found is they'll come home and we do hold space and we talk about it and we navigate it from there. So they are aware that those things are out there. They are aware, but we really do, we really try to make sure that they have a place of grounding and come back and centering. I remember my 18-year-old was 12. I asked him for his greatest advice. I was like in the car with them, and I always ask my kids for opinions on stuff. Because they're unattached. They don't have, so I'm like, hey, what should I do here? What should I do there? And I asked him, I said, what's your greatest advice? And he said to me, he's like, be water. I didn't realize at the time he got that from Bruce Lee, but he was like, be water. And he explained it to me. He's like, water can crash. It can do this. It can do that. And I think what's fascinating about what you're saying is, and what you're talking about this other person, I haven't sat here and like told them like, here are the minds that are out there. But when they either get close enough or something happens, because it's like, it's like Finding Nemo. You can't protect them from everything. So when something does come up, it leads to the discussion of that in terms of like what to think about. How would you respond in that way? Here's what we're seeing. And what's also really fascinating. So my husband is Portuguese. We were talking about this. I have to tell you this offline because this is great. But we were talking about this the other night. His people kind of started a lot of this stuff. We were joking. And like, here we are today. And we give the kids the history flat out. But what's really fascinating is because my husband also has this perception or just this experience of growing up in the Bay, he's also learning through these experiences because he has no idea. He's never, I've never raised young Black men before. I've never raised, all of that stuff. So we get to experience all this together, but with the foundation of more of our knowingness and just kind of where we're feeling through the world. It's a really different thing for us, and not to say there's a right or the wrong way, but I always take the cues and I pay attention, and this is why I love talking to you, and what I've loved watching about what you're doing is because you have a whole nother world that I don't usually have context to. It's not something that I'm exposed to, but that doesn't mean I can't learn from it. It doesn't mean that I can't take those nuggets that align and vibe. And I want to get into your Black Wealth series because, first of all, I don't think it should be taken away from anybody. I think the name is exactly what it's supposed to be.
And everybody needs to see it, period. It's for everybody.
I believe that because when you create something that out of, again, this curiosity, the entry to our humanity is curiosity. The entry to getting better is curiosity. And the fact that you've created something like this and have been in the finance world, you've been in LA, like you've been in all of these spaces, you offer such a rich thing. So I would love if you could just kind of,
yes.
First of all, is this Black Wealth series just for Black folk? Let me start there.
No, it's not. It's, at first I wanted there to be a place where folks can kind of let their hair, where Black folks can let their hair down, ask questions, and not feel like they had to put on airs. I wanted it to be a place, but then it's a webinar. There's no pictures. You can type in there whatever you want. So it's for everybody. And the fact that history is being kind of pulled off the table in places, and that's not that's not just in Florida. Quiet as it's kept. I hear people in states like North Carolina where they were taught about slavery, and the teacher said they were indentured servants and they were happy and they were singing. And she didn't say that the average slave woman lived till she was about 22 from all the STDs and impregnations and rapings. Nobody want to talk about that part. So it's important that we develop ourselves around it, right? When I first started it, I was like, trauma, a history, trauma porn. But then I was like, well, is it trauma porn or is it just what it is? Like, well, if someone tells me they were hurt, whether they were sexually assaulted or, physically beat up, can I not be with them because it's making me sad? Or do I need to elevate myself so that I can handle that emotion and be with them as a person? Right. And that's how I feel like our history is. That's how I feel like Black history is. We can be so traumatized where we can't even hear it ourselves, or we can develop and grow ourselves so that we can just understand it. Because again, it has not changed. Systemic racism hasn't ended. And as you're talking and you're like, when they come in, we have the conversations. The reality with systemic racism, Sharice, is that them coming in is luck. We don't have a system where it's guaranteed that they're going to come in. And what I mean by that is, especially our Black boys, anything can happen to them. Anything can happen to them. They get misidentified. My nephew was put in the system for all of his senior year because they got him mixed up with a little boy who didn't look nothing like him. Let us tell it, but he looked enough like him to the non-Black people that were looking at the photos, right? And it was enough to put him in a system. And I have 5 younger brothers, so I do look at things a little differently. And for my Black women sisters, they were like, "Ooh, that's a little extreme." I'm like, "But it's real, still real." So the series this time is, everyone's welcome, you guys. It's such a great education. The speakers that we have are phenomenal. So it's going to be all about college sports. The reason why I did college sports was because a few years ago, Governor Newsom, as far as I know, I think he started it, changed it where kids can get paid from their name and likeness in the sports world. So silly me, I thought that meant that if, University of Arizona sold out the football stadium, that the kids got paid from the ticket sales. Stupid. That's not the case. That's not what it means. Oh, no. So it's like, well, then where did money go? So then the series studies all of it. It studies where does that money go. So my first speaker is actually talking about where does that money go? Where does the money from the schools go? Where does the money from the sports teams go? Where does the college money go? Because they don't pay no taxes, and we know they don't pay their teachers, right? And we know that tuition is always going up, right? So the first teacher, Dr. Darvarian Baldwin, he's been on CNN, MSNBC, Times Magazine. He's just amazing. He's going to be this Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. Even if you can't come, register. If you follow me, the link is in the bio. It's also the QRD code. The second speaker is from the Netflix show Last Chance U. It's an Emmy Award-winning show. He's a sports coach, and he's talking about how these kids are getting this money now, and because they don't really understand how money works, what's happening there. Right. And how some of them are still the ones that will be responsible for getting their families into different situations. Then I have one of the newest agents that represents that area, name and likeness. And he's going to talk about just what it is and how it does, how it works, which I have no idea about. So I'm very interested to hear all about that. Then I have my girlfriend and my sorority sister. She raised a son who just got drafted, and she also has another son who's about to be drafted. And what I can tell you is she was very intentional about the conversation. She did tell him he was a Black man. She did tell him what to do and what not to do. And she's so happy she did, because he went to a huge university and she saw those kids being their scholarships being taken away, their getting kicked off the football team, getting kicked out of school because no one was letting them know, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can try, but if you get in trouble, it's going to be severe. So it might be in your best interest to just avoid that one all entire. Do something else. Go somewhere and do something else. You can do it, just not there, right? So her and his dad had all those great conversations, and she's going to give everyone that how to do that and how to just have that conversation, because I think it's hard for people at moms. I think it's heartbreaking. I think I can't wait till y'all don't have to have those conversations, but I don't want kids to figure it out afterwards. And then the last speaker is Bonus. He's Paralympic bronze medalist, swimmer Jamal Hill. And he's just going to give people branding tips on how to brand yourself online so that you can get that popularity and potentially make money off of it. But the good thing is this: name and likeness does not mean talent and winning trophies, right? It just means, so all I'm hearing is like TikTok influencers, social media people that can now really leverage that. So I think it's going to be a great series, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot. I've been learning a lot already just reading the books of some of the speakers.
That's amazing. And like, so does this tie into the one that I did with you? Is it all the same?
Yes. It's all the same series. I've been doing it for 3 years. My team and I, we've been doing it for 3 years. And every time we just pick a different subject. We just pick something.
Okay. So I love that you, again, like I said, you are educating in a realm, in a world that I have very few, have little exposure to. I mean, part of it, not because I don't see things, it's just part of it, just kind of like, okay, this is where I'm operating in this moment. And I love that you are offering this learning for folks to engage and build community around. Hopefully people come in and ask questions, are curious, and really get to know. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, you said earlier, were like, the trauma component of things. And I've heard that a lot from other Black folk, from non-Black folk, like just from a lot of different people. And something that I've sat with is more like, instead of looking at trauma, just looking at where is my energy going. I'm very energy, I'm a little woo-woo in that way. And so I wonder, like, for me, it's like, I'm not trying to avoid what's going on and what's being talked about. I'm just very mindful of the energy that I have and that I'm utilizing. And, I wonder if that plays a part in some of the conversations where people are like, it's not that I can't hold the space, it's just that my energy is going in a different direction than where the energy, because everything is energy in some point. So like, it's like, when you think about that, that's just how I have operated, which does steer me away from certain things. So I don't watch news, I don't watch the videos, I don't watch any of that stuff, because I'm like, where do I want my energy? How do I want to, I guess it kind of like goes back to this card, which is like, feel good, pass it on. And I'm very mindful of that. And I just wonder how much that plays into maybe why folks are backing away or don't come to, or might have that experience with some of the topics. Especially, history is dark. History is dark. So yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Present day is just as dark, and the future will be just as bleak if we don't change it. Right. So and that's really the point, Sharice. The point is, it doesn't matter if I don't know it or know it. It doesn't matter if we're not changing it. We're just lucky. We're just lucky nothing has happened to us and our boys and our sisters and our mamas yet. That's it. Yet. Because it hasn't been changed. And I think that we're miraculous human beings. I think that we have the time and energy for everything. We just have to do it. We just do a little bit. So if I'm carrying a big load of this here fight, and you're carrying a big load of the bring in healthy babies in the world fight, we're going into different corners. However, we both still need support. So your support might be you know what, you guys, I need you to call this congresswoman or they're doing this, right? And my support might be, I need you guys to register for this. And then I'm also going to need you guys to make sure you have conversations with your kids or call this number because the district attorney needs to be changed. Like activism, if we can all just do a little bit, it's going to make a difference, but we can't do nothing. And because at some point we're going to be on the other side, or somebody's going to be on the other side of that video, hoping that everybody's looking so that they can just be seen, right? It's sometimes we need to be seen. And the best thing about these cameras is that we get to see the Ahmaud Arbery's, we get to see the Sandra Bland's. And I don't want to wait until it's me to have the urgency, because then it's too late. So I feel like if we can all just create a little bit of urgency and in the situations that are happening, then it can minimize, or at some point just stop it from happening, and then we can relax and just be human beings. That's my hope. That's my that's my
what I hear you say. This is what I hear you saying, and just let me know if I'm off or not.
Okay.
If I'm off or if I'm on.
Yes, ma'am.
We're all going in the same direction. We just need multiple modalities. So what I'm hearing is almost like a birth duel. I have different modalities that I use, but my ultimate goal is to really help them birth their baby.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying, and what I like about this conversation, although I don't fully agree with just some of what you're sharing, I fully agree with this is what's needed for people that need what you're talking about. Because I think about almost like, you remember Donkey Kong? Do you remember that game?
Yes.
Everybody's at different levels, right? So the level that you're at, there are people at that level that need exactly what you're doing to get to that next level of what you're trying to say. So we are ultimately, and I think this is where people get more divisive, is when they're like, I don't agree with what you're saying. What you're saying is wrong. It's like, no, what you're saying is exactly what is needed, because my grandma used to say there's all different types of people. So who's to say that your method and where you're trying to reach people isn't the right method? No one can say that, because you're going to bring in, I'm a strong whole believer, your vibe attracts, right? And if you're attracting those people that are on your vibration and your frequency, that is how we get to that direction, to that place. And if my vibe attracts people in that same way, we're all going into that same direction, because I wholeheartedly believe that we don't want to stay here. We want that future. I do think that we should balance out some of the harder to hear conversations with that visionary component of what it's supposed to look like. That's something I'm not really hearing a lot of. What is it supposed to look like, given that we've sat in what it was and what it is, but what is it supposed to look like? That's kind of just like goal setting and envisioning. But what you're saying,
it looks like what you say. It looks like we're all just human beings. That's
yeah,
what
I love. So I just want to thank you.
That's what it looks like.
I really want to thank you, because you we need more conversations like you and I are having. You and I have ultimate respect for each other, admire each other's work, differences of opinion, but we're headed in the same direction and we're doing it differently, but nothing is right or wrong. It's when you just understand that how could I look at what you're doing and be like, oh my gosh, no, you have a life experience. You have decades. I have decades. And you're creating from the same, there's this saying I like in The Alchemist, where it's all written from the same hand. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we are going in that. And how much better would it be if I'm just like, hey, I see you. Let's have a conversation. How can I support what you're doing? Might not be my full vibe, but why would I shut that out and just be like, no? Because people listening right now is like, you know what? I need that Blackwell series. I want to go down that road with you. I want to go and experience, because I can tell that your heart is in the direction, it's attuned to the direction that's going to bring us the most light. And this conversation has really just, it's changed my heart a little bit, in the sense of, I've always had this knowingness that we need everybody to get there. It's now really establishing that there are different methods and how we get there, and to honor the space and the journey for each person. And so I just, oh my gosh, how's that sit for you? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I get that. And I'm still, I might be a little confused because you keep saying we have a difference of opinion. I'm like, no, we have the same opinion. You're saying we're human beings. I agree we're human beings. I just think we have to fight for it still. But yeah. So where do you feel like we have a difference of opinion?
Well, I don't necessarily think that we should, in some cases, but now I don't know if I can actually say this, but like, it's not my natural flow to say, let me go look at all of these things that are wrong, and to not really, and I don't really use the language of, I hear I'm fighting for something. I feel like that takes a lot of energy. I rather go in the flow of what's happening in the world of, like, because I think about this, everything that was here before us, trees, birds, all that stuff is perfect. Mm-hmm. Everything else that we see was created from the mind, mm-hmm. of thought. And I think that if we can use our thoughts in the direction that we want to go, we can then create what we want to see happening. That's just kind of how, we built planes, we did that thing. So for me, and the way that my energy flows, it's like, I don't know if I want to, if I look at things as a fight. I don't think I look at it in that way. I think that, and then because that, I think people can say, like, hey, why don't you tell me what you're standing for, not what you're fighting against? Because I think that just resistance. But like I said, we are saying the same thing. Maybe it's not differences of opinion. Maybe I just have a different route that I'm taking. Maybe that's a better way to say
it.
And
it's a normal route. What I see with a lot of Black mothers is that your attitude is very similar to the rest of theirs. And I get it. If I was a mother, I would probably have to do the exact same thing you guys are doing, because that's how you're going to raise kids and be happy and all of that stuff. So I think what you're doing is perfect, Sharice. I just want to make sure that you don't give too much space for the nonsense, and because we're not fighting each other. If anything, I'm fighting a system and you're raising good humans. Right. So but you're still talking to them. You're still teaching them. You're still doing the exact same things that you need to do, because you don't have the luxury to not, right? You just don't. It's too dangerous. Moving forward, though, if we can all just follow someone's leadership in the space, we can get the systemic racism ended. And what that looks like is, we don't really have a lot of Black leaders, because they get assassinated, because that's the system. And but we still need their leadership. We still need leadership. So I do what I can, but all of my speakers are leaders. If you go in and you hear something, they'll tell you what to do. Just do one thing. And we can all just start just one little ant to the pebble, because again, we're not the problem. It's the anti-Black and the spaces that create the weaponized board of director that then becomes the college university that starts buying up the Black neighborhoods. It's the anti-Black behavior that then becomes the doctor and then kills a Black woman and her baby, right? It's all of that's real stuff, and we still got to eliminate it. So
does what you're talking about and teaching transcend to other cultures and countries? Do you think?
I don't know to other countries, but definitely to other cultures, because I think that America is a mixed up mosh posh.
It's a gumbo. It's a gumbo. It's a gumbo. Yeah.
America is a mixed up mosh posh, and for most people, they do have Black grandbabies and spouses and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not. I think that when they're given a chance to do something, they do something. But I still know that there are the people that when no one's looking, they will hurt us.
Yeah, I don't know if I would affirm that, but I'm not saying it's not true. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
if you watch videos, you will see it yourself.
But why do I have to go back to my energy? Like, why?
But
I don't
not
know.
watching
It's
it
like,
doesn't make it not true, though. Not
hmm.
allowing yourself to feel the same pain as another Black mother doesn't make it not true. Just sometimes we gotta feel it, because that's how we're gonna get angry enough to make something happen.
But
And
does
that's how the marches happened. You feel like what? You want to be happy all the time? I want you to be happy all
Oh
the time.
no! Oh my gosh!
I want to be happy all the time. I mean,
No.
absolutely.
It's my happiness is not that's not the thing. I just like I don't. So this is something that I wrote about. I haven't published this at all. So you're the first person, and whoever's watching is hearing this. I've spent a good portion of my life being angry, and it's gotten me in a lot of trouble. I mean,
I get that.
a lot of bad things. And so when I think about stuff that doesn't feel right, that doesn't, that I'm like, I immediately do this like observing the observation in order to be mindful of allowing myself to go into this like emotion of anger, because I realize what yields from that for me is not going to help anybody. And so
don't be angry then. Don't be angry.
But you know what, to your point of the pain of the other mother, this is where my utilization as a doula comes in, because I can hold space for you in that pain. I don't negate the fact that you are going through what you are going through. I can be there in that space for you. But one of the things that I've also learned is like, so I've given birth 6 times now, and I've felt contractions all around, right? It is not helpful for me or the birther if I go in and I'm like, oh yeah, I feel that pain. I remember that pain. It does not help them birth their baby. What helps is me holding space for them and helping them navigate. So I don't, and this might be I don't know if this is right or wrong to say, but I don't get angry. I get curious so I can, for me, be the most effective at trying to help solve and find solutions.
That's the end result. The end result is whatever needs to be productive and effective to end systemic racism. For me, my anger is at the foundation of my activism, right? But I can't lead with that, because that doesn't make anybody feel good. It doesn't make anybody want to be around me.
Don't make you feel good.
Don't make me feel good. Don't make nobody want to go to happy hour with me. Don't make nothing happen. Don't make me get no new client. Nothing. Nothing good happens from that. It don't look good with lipstick on. It does not look good. So what but it's still there for me. So and it's not lost on me that you've had a hard life and you've had to experience things that none of us had. A lot of us have not experienced. It's not lost on me at all, right? And if I can trace that back, I'm sure I could find elements of systemic racism and involved in your homelessness too. So my ultimate goal is whatever creates the productiveness and effectiveness and the happiness, and you have gone through situations that would have ended other people, and you're out and you're smiling and you're raising happy kids, and that's great. And I'm just in a different place where my end result is, how can we not have that happen to Sharice, the future Sharice? How can we not have the effects of systemic racism happen to, the next generation? What can we all do? We got to do something. It might not need to be 80% of our day, but it might need to be 5%. Right. So that's all. But no anger. If anger is everybody, productivity, emotion is different.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is why I think this is why you and I come together so well. I mean, in all the conversations that we've had, not even live, just private conversations. Okay. We could go on.
I know.
First of all, I want to flash this up for folks. Definitely go check this out. the Black Wealth series. This is the link to where people can sign up and be a part of that.
Yeah, it's free.
There you go. And so I really appreciate you doing that. I want to shift a bit, unless you have something else you would like to say in our conversation. I'd love to shift to the mic drop. So this is your, where is my emoji? I love these. I love emojis. This is your moment, your time to really share whatever you want to say to the people that are listening. This can be about the Black Wealth series. I love the talk around your activism. Again, it's embedded. Like when you say it, it's almost like a nervous system. It's there. So I know you're about it. Like there's no doubt. So whatever you'd like to share, I'd love to turn it over to you to do just in the high vibe zone. Go ahead and mic drop. Passing it to you.
Okay. All right. Let me think of something. In order for us to create this world that we want, this world that is equitable and fun, and where we're having people over profit, we have to dismantle systemic racism. And it's not just on Black folks; it's on everybody.
That's a great mic drop. That's a great mic drop.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here in the high vibe zone. I'm a little bit behind on post-production, but once I get it up, I'm going to make sure that everybody can contact you and know how to reach you. What is the best method for people to reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn, or do you have any other social?
LinkedIn is great. You guys just DM me on LinkedIn and I'll send you the website or whatever you need and let me know.
I'm going to throw up your LinkedIn real quick. This is how folks can find you. I'll also drop it in the comments and the recap. Actually, I think I can actually put it in the comments right now. Folks, let me know if y'all can see this link in here. I think I could put all the links in there.
Yeah, it looks like you are.
Yeah, let me know if y'all can see this on the other side. If not, I'll put them directly. But thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for inviting me, Therese.
Yes, of course. Please don't go anywhere. I'm going to do our super sick intro, outro, and then talk with you backstage and then wrap this baby up. Thank you all for being here. The comments, I was not able to get to all the comments, but let's, you and I can go back into the comments and just, we'll catch y'all there. Thank you so much for every comment, every person that watched live or the replay. Thank you so much to my amazing, amazing guest. You have been here in the High Vibe Zone. I am your host, Therese Fonts. Until next time, have an amazing day. Light, love, and gratitude. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
You're a spiritual being in physical form, a dichotomy of light and dark, where energy equals mass on a journey designed to fulfill our personal legend and purpose, to use humanity throughout, to amplify and transcend, tame the ego, raise the humanity. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the High Vibe Zone.